Hi, I'm Nanny Fitzsimmons. I'm your Washington Realtors Legal Hotline lawyer. Thanks for tuning in today because we are talking about nanny cams. And you need to be aware of nanny cams in a seller's home, whether you're the listing broker or the buyer's broker. Let's first of all talk about it from the listing broker and the seller's perspective. Lots and lots of sellers have nanny cams in their home for wholly legitimate purposes. It's not really ours to question why a seller has a nanny cam. Just assume that lots and lots of sellers have nanny cams in their home. Listing brokers, here's a question for you. If the seller has a nanny cam running when the buyer is walking through the house, and that nanny cam has an audio component as well as a video component, meaning that the seller has intercepted the conversations that occur between buyers or between buyer and buyer's broker, what's the lawful use of that intercepted conversation? Is seller allowed to first of all, is seller allowed to intercept that conversation? And then if they do, use it for their advantage in negotiations. They hear buyer talk about how much they love the house, they'd be willing to pay full price if they had to, etc., etc. Gives a serious edge to the seller in that negotiation. The answer is, Washington law makes it unlawful for any person to intercept the conversation by recorded device of another person without that person's written permission. It's not enough to simply post somewhere around the house or on the front door that a nanny cam is in operation or that oral conversations might be intercepted or recorded. That's not enough. You have to have the written permission of the person whose conversation is being intercepted. So, listing brokers, caution your sellers if they have an audio component to a nanny cam. They should turn off that feature before they open the house to a buyer. And it's really not up to you to explain the law to your sellers, of course. And so if your seller has a nanny cam and if they tell you that they can record audio conversation on this nanny cam, you really ought to advise that seller in writing to seek legal counsel. It's for the seller's benefit. Okay. Buyers, you need to assume when your buyer is walking through seller's home that there is a nanny cam and it's recording every audio conversation that occurs. Because it's unlikely that if their conversation is recorded that you or the buyer are ever going to know of that. It might be unlawful for seller to intercept it, but who cares if you never know that it was intercepted? But if that seller turns around and uses their interception of your conversation with your buyer to negotiate against your buyer, then your buyer has done a disservice to themselves by having a conversation within the interior space of the seller's home. The lesson to take away from this is to remember lots and lots of sellers have nanny cams. And lots of nanny cams will intercept audio conversation as well as recording the video of what happens within the home. The wise counsel to your buyer then would be, buyer, look around the house, make note of anything you want to talk about, carry a pen and paper with you, make note of the things you want to talk about, and save your exuberance, save your questions even, for after we leave the seller's home. We get back in the car, we can talk about all of this stuff. And if you love this house, boy, I want you to express it to me once we're back in the car. But just walk through every home as though there's a nanny cam recording your conversations. I didn't mention this, maybe it goes without mentioning, there's nothing at all unlawful about recording a video of what happens in a seller's home. Sellers can see the buyer and the buyer's broker walking through the house. Nothing unlawful about that and no need for seller to get buyer's permission on that. I hope this information is useful. I want to thank you for being a Washington Realtors member. If you have questions about nanny cams or any topic at all, please send a question to me at the Legal Hotline. My email address is legalhotline@warealtor.org. I hope you have a productive week.